Hello, beautiful fellow galactic travelers, and welcome to another episode of my Starseeds Create series. My name is Miriam Wiedemann. I am a galactic astrologer and I offer my services in English and German. In a session with me, you will finally resolve your lifelong feelings of homesickness by learning what fixed star system you are from and what you are here to do. I am also an activator of your galactic gifts for your unique mission here on Earth. And on a practical level, you achieve clarity, be it on your business, your money stories, your relationships, or your health. And in my sessions, I am so blessed and honored to meet incredible beings in my here on Earth, human starseeds who are with us to support us with their multifaceted galactic gifts during these exciting yet challenging times of change. And today I am very happy to introduce you to Carolyn Goldfarb, who you need to get to know if you want to grab the life you've always envisioned, and she will get you unstuck for sure. And this is exactly what she embodies in her galactic chart, but one thing after the other. We will get through to this through during our conversation. Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Miriam. It's so exciting to be here.
I will just introduce you to the audience, and then we will dive into what you do and how you came to what you're doing right now. So Carolyn Goldfarb is a licensed master soul therapist, having received her training from Soul Therapy School International. In her private practice, Carolyn assists individuals with soul therapy sessions, past life regression therapy, and generational healing. As a generational healer, Carolyn heals the source of your ancestors' trauma in your bloodline to free you from inherent generational trauma and emotional pain that has been carried forward into your life. Carolyn works with women worldwide to support their desire to realign their soul and life purpose, connect to their divine essence, and live with their true magnificence. That sounds so exciting, Carolyn.
It
Um,
is, it's very exciting.
so maybe you start a bit telling us about your life and what led you to become a soul therapist and a healer.
I don't even know where to begin. That's a tall order. I, you know, I think that it's a life of sort of a lot of challenges, but a lot of love and adventure and success, but also a lot of um, hard knocks and, life trauma and just sort of having to overcome all of that, reached a point where I had gotten sick with breast cancer at an early age at 42. And I sort of woke up to myself and said to God, obviously I'm not doing my purpose, let's get me the right teachers and healers. And that actually really did do the trick because immediately when I asked for it, different avenues of healing and mentors showed up that led to the next, which led to Deborah Sky King, who did start Soul Therapy School um, in Toronto, Canada. And she has been my mentor and has taught me past life regression and generational healing too. So through that, I've learned to really help people, and not just women. Soul therapy, I really work with women exclusively, but I do work with men for past life regression and generational healing, um, where all of the modalities that I've work with help on all levels: emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and align people with their soul and their purpose. So basically gets people unstuck. And I know there's a lot of people saying they help people get unstuck, but I've never seen anything work so fast in my life. I mean, the life just changes that people have overcome has been tremendous. And in terms of my own growth, I grew up in a very kind of crazy alcoholic home with a lot of love and, you know, But my dad had tendency towards being a violent drunk sometimes because he had gone through World War II and things like that. And I think he didn't have the PTSD, healing that we have now for people. And so we kind of lived through that. And then there was the loss of a lot of money. Grew up very wealthy. And then my father passed away when I was 20. My mother was sick for 10 years with breast cancer herself, and she was 32. But I remember at 8 years old, I said, somehow I had this thought. It was like maybe 8 or 7. There's no way that we're here to learn all this stuff and deal with all of this and like just to die. Like I literally thought that. Like what 8-year-old thinks about dying? And I just realized like I'm so much more than whatever these people around me are telling me. Like I just knew it in my heart. And so I always believed in past lives, even at like 8 years old. And I always felt like the adult in the room. I felt very wise coming in. I felt like I knew everything. I could tell when I was being lied to. I knew when they were not telling me what was clearly truthful in front of me. And no matter what anyone told me, I knew what was true. And they couldn't even make me be what they wanted me to be. Like I've always been me. And that has allowed me to be very strong and forthcoming to just wherever it has led me.
That is so fascinating because, of course, it's all in your galactic chart. So let me just give a little context here. Your Lilith conjuncts your North Node in eighth house in Taurus. And Lilith is also called the dark moon, the female shadow side. She shows us very bluntly and directly our hidden strength as well as our hidden wounds when she awakens. But also, as I said, she might have been terrifying for you sometimes, especially with the sickness and the cancer you went through, which is a deeply female expression of it, right? And she might have even put you into freeze mode sometimes. You have to tell me if that is the case, because especially when it was just too much in your life. But
Well, I did it twice. So then I had done all this work, became a soul therapist, and then I got it again when I was 49. And so I've been breast cancer free again for over 6 years or 7 years now. But the last time really took me out. It was a little more serious than the first time. It was stage 1 instead of stage 0. I never had to do chemo. But to have breast cancer twice, to have to go through that kind of trauma twice, the medicine, the hormone medicine they put me on changed my whole body. It was horrific. And I had to fight for myself. I had to say no to the doctors. I had to get off of medicine that I thought they were going to kill me with. And I learned through all of my life to be independent. And I think that that was part of my life purpose, was to learn to be completely independent on my own and not dependent on financially on a man, my parents, emotionally. I mean, it just is learning to be able to enjoy life no matter what's happening, to have a level of joy running all the time, just the appreciation of being here while also surviving whatever challenges come your way.
yes,
And not by muscling through, but by acceptance and just sort of doing one step in front of the other. And it just sort of all works out.
yeah.
Like,
And it is all happening in your eighth house, and the eighth house, it is a very complex house, but it talks, if you break it down, about money, sex, and death. And so again, Dark Moon Lilith in that house brings us into because she has such a scorpionic energy, and this is eighth house, is associated to Scorpio, so it's really dark and ferocious, and it wants to dive deep into the unconscious and uncover everything. But Lilith conjunct your North Node, the point of your karmic destiny, where you are meant to go, will not keep you in victim mode very long, because there is a fateful and challenging and life-changing energy behind her, both for yourself and for other women. So it makes complete sense that you offer this soul therapy to women, because I think the bottom line here is rise, woman.
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
And also for the men is also the divine masculine. It's living with the also the okayness to be allowing their feminine side, their trauma, to heal their traumas and their wounds too. It's kind of permission, it's for permission for both
yes.
to be their divine equal selves, feminine and masculine, and to be courageous. And to me, courageous, I think Renee Brown said it. Is that how you say her name? To be vulnerable is being courageous, is allowing herself that vulnerability. And when she came up with that, I was like, right, being vulnerable all the time, saying your truth, being out there, talking, telling people who you are, not hiding, sharing yourself. That's being courageous.
Yes, and that is Lilith again. She asks you to rise above your wounds and reclaim your power. And again, she shouts to you as a woman, rise woman, but it also shouts to men because men also have Lilith in their birth chart, right? So rise humans, maybe.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
I believe that's why you are here to shout this to the world now.
interesting. I never thought of it that way.
But it's in your
Thank you.
chart, reminding you of
I'm
that.
very grateful for that. It's not easy to have the what you had asked me about the dark side. What keeps coming up is being little and not feeling like the adults were protecting me and feeling like unsafe sometimes and
Yeah.
hiding, doing things or yeah. And I think that was a life of like I can't count on the adults in the room I have to do it.
Mm.
I have to save myself kind of thing.
And you have a beautiful galactic family, star family there. You have Andromeda conjunct your North Node and your Black Moon Lilith. And Andromeda is all about healing. They are also the liberators of all limitations. And if you want to be free, if you look for freedom, everything freedom fighting in a positive way, you go to the Andromedans. So, and they have a very balanced masculine and feminine energy. So it all plays into that so
And where is
beautiful.
this Andromedan in my chart, did you say?
It is conjunct, so it is aligned with your North Node and your Lilith. So
Oh,
everything
wow.
we're talking about is playing into this healing, into this liberation out of victimhood. And it is also about finding a balance between the masculine and the feminine. And
It's so funny. Freedom is my core value. Like if anyone tries to in any way kind of
yeah,
put a thumb on me, it just feels like painful. Like I just like there's
I
the
believe
door.
you. I believe you.
Like even friends, like anybody. Like
I get you.
now I understand why. I didn't really get that. Now it's thank you.
I mean, the galactic astrology kind of brings everything, weaves everything together, what we have to do here in on Earth. That's why we came here, right? As starseeds to create. So,
It really does add a whole other level to your understanding of yourself. I've never experienced before until meeting you and having my chart read by you. Like you blew my mind open in a different, really. And yeah, can't say enough about it.
oh, thank you. All right, I have a question for you, Carolyn.
Yes.
How do you stop playing a victim in your life and become an engaged creator of it? And playing victim, I mean by that not consciously. Well, sometimes we
Mhm.
do play the victim consciously,
Yeah.
but that is a hugely manipulative thing. But so how do we overcome this victimhood and, you know, alchemize it into a co-creation, with life?
Victim is a really interesting thing. it's an archetype that we all come in with. There's four that no matter what we come in with, we bring, and the victim is one of the big ones that we all have to work with. No one gets away without dealing with it somehow. Um, the way the world's set up, even the news, how people talk, it's all like life is happening to you, not that you are made in the image of, I like to say God because that's what I grew up with, but the creator, that we have all the gifts. Our soul is multidimensional, all powerful, all knowing being that's living all the time. And every lifetime you've ever had has happened, every past one, future one, it's all happening simultaneously. But this moment is the most important moment because tomorrow, it's now. And so at any moment, you can choose to say, I'm a creator and take responsibility for your creation. Or you can say, life has just happened to me. And so what happens is because the ego can get so strong, especially if you grew up in trauma, but trauma doesn't only have to mean something terrible happening to you. It can be a teacher saying something random to you that becomes your story. Um, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, like anything. Somebody just saying something can make you have a new story. And then you rearrange your whole life to match that story forever. And like, how long do you want to live that story? Like, and just keep, it gets so boring. You're like, oh, this is happening again. Like, oh, I'm with this jerk again. Like, well, why? Like, you could change the story at any time. You are capable of doing that. And that's what I help, or I, with through soul therapy and my work, I help people get unstuck from their repeated story of where these thoughts came in at 5, 10, 15, 20, and where you keep, or even 30, where you are on, as you go on in life, you can create new stories and new victim things. So I always tend to go, okay, why am I saying this, that this is happening to me? No, why did I create this? What is the challenge here? Not this is terrible, but this is challenging. I love using that word instead of hard. I really do work with higher language to make sure that I switch the language, and that immediately gives me more power, right? If it's hard, you just feel defeated, like, why even bother? But if you say challenge, you're like, oh, this is fun. It's a game. Like, what am I going to do? And then they say, well, why is spirit, or why did I create this? Because maybe it stops you from getting killed if you're late for the plane because you might die on the highway. Like, you don't know, right? So instead of saying, oh, what's this challenge? So why, oh, let me get there. Let me do this. What's the next move? And as spirit takes you along your next move, it can lead you to a higher and best story that creates a new thing that made your life really easy, actually. But if you get really mad and feel like a victim, you don't get to the present, the gift.
Yes, it
And
feels
that's the
like,
thing. It's just sort of going with the flow more and allowing life to show up for you and you creating it at the same time instead of feeling like life is so horrible. Why is this happening to me?
you know, when you talked, I had this image of someone who is sitting beside the river, and the river can be really, really challenging with all the obstacles
Yep.
that are there. But if you are sitting beside the river and not daring to, jump into it and go with the flow, as you said, yes, then you are stuck and you are repeating in this stuck state the old stories over and over again. And yeah, it can be boring to sit by the river. It can be
But
nice too,
yeah,
but
but I think that the people miss that everybody wants the end, like what's going to be at the end, right? Instead of saying to spirit, what's my next move? Because that's all you get to know is what is the next step I need to take. And when you say that, then you get to that step and you're like, wow, I feel better. Oh, things are happening. And then something happens. And then that leads you to the next step. But it's also asking for it, asking questions, asking out loud, wanting to communicate is really important. Instead of just going to bed and feeling sorry for yourself and doing nothing, because that doesn't do anything.
no, that's
Nothing.
true. And even if you jump into the river and you get your nose knocked on on a stone,
Totally.
it happens. That's what life. That's what happens when life happens to you, right? Or for
Yeah.
you, or for
Yeah.
you.
I mean, I had a friend who, always felt like men don't like her. She created a story that Men don't like her. And I said to her, well, why do you keep creating this story? Like you have 100 proofs of all these guys who do like you. So where did that, like go with that? Don't keep going with the old story, and create like, I'm wonderful, I'm beautiful, I am a successful person. I deserve the very best. And I feel like sometimes people will settle for, well, this relationship's nice. I don't feel like this powerful all love, but this may be the best I can get. So then they settle instead of saying, no, I really want this, or I really want to be a millionaire, or I really want the, and going for that, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be owning your own business and being the wealthiest person in the world. It can be something simple like, I want a new job or I want a relationship. It's saying you deserve and why would you not create that for yourself on a soul level? No one's taking that opportunity away from you. Except
So,
you.
so what would you say to people who do settle, and are not even aware of it? Like there are
That's
a lot of people who will say, okay, that's it. That's what life has for me in store. And if I try more, then I will get a bloody nose.
right. Well, you might, and it
Yes.
might be challenging for a while. And maybe you might have less money because you're used to tool incomes, or maybe you have to go to a smaller apartment, but then you're free. And then you're free to have a real love. I'll say to people who are in a mediocre love relationship is both of you deserve to have the great. And if you don't love that person, then you're stopping that person from finding someone who would really love them the way they deserve to be loved. So it's selfish. And that's what I really believe. I believe that it's a mutual thing when you settle, that you're also hurting the other person and you're not doing anybody any favors because you're afraid. And I think once people actually make bold moves, if it's safe to, if they can find an apartment or they can find work, like they make moves into the direction that they want their life to be, they don't have to go run away. They can make a small move to do something, get a job, then get another apartment, then you can move. Like, you know what I mean? You,
Mm,
it's making small steps to make the life you want. Everything doesn't happen in a minute. But it can happen really fast, or it can happen in steps. It just, however you want to make it, it will happen that way. You're the designer of your life. I think that's the hardest concept for people to get, because I think the human condition is really suppressive and depressing. It's very like the world's dangerous, the world is violent, the world is scary, the world is you're lucky if you have a house. You're lucky if you have food on there's a lot of like mediocre word like choices to keep us feeling suppressed. And the more you can change the language in your own head to make happier and more powerful and more fulfilling words, then you are happier too.
mm. So we are recording this on the day before Samhain, where we honor our ancestors and our ancestral line too. And I think it is a beautiful day to heal the ancestral line from both sides, not only from our side, but also from the
Mhm.
ancestral side. So, and this is what leads to my question. So, if your clients, if you see someone who is stuck in this mediocrity, do you experience that this comes also from their ancestry? Because, of course, in earlier times, it was actually quite sensible to settle for what you could get, because
Yes.
you had to survive on a very,
Mhm.
well, generations ago, we had to survive on a very primal level, really. But,
100%. There was nowhere to get a new job. You had to stay with your husband. There was no financial support for
yeah,
women.
and even a marriage was just for economic, not just, but
Mhm.
for economic reasons or political reasons, but definitely
100%.
not for love reasons. So, how do you experience this ancestral energy that is still running in our daily life here now?
That's a very good question. So the generational healing that I do is calling forth the ancestor that needs the most healing from the trauma. But what I found is fascinating is that now in the news, even DNA, they've proved, the psychiatrists are even talking that DNA trauma is inherited in our DNA. So basically, when we design a life, besides picking our past lives that we want to bring in to heal and certain skill sets, we also bring in ancestral skill sets. So say you want to be a musician and you call in this ancestor and they're like, yeah, you can use my DNA, but I had this lifetime back in the day that was really hard. And, I got hurt and I was not a good person after that, or some other story. And then that gets, and then you're like, don't worry, I'm going to meet Carolyn. We're going to heal that. And don't worry about it. Or I'll deal with it when I get there. And they're like, okay. So you take pieces of different ancestral DNA and you bring it into the family line. So I can see, and I'll talk to the person if it's ancestral or past life based on how they feel. If they feel that it's them and it's something that's soul inherited, or they feel like it's their story, they'll know it's past life. If it's in the family line, like alcoholism, suicide, feelings of depression, anxiety, OCD, ADHD, like anything like that, or just feelings of malaise or just family patterns, then it's ancestral. And not everyone inherits the same DNA because you bring in different DNA. So your sister or your brother might not have the same DNA as you. You might not have the same DNA as your mom. So this is very personal. When you get a generational healing, I'm healing the ancestor, and that heals the line and you. If you already have kids, it doesn't heal them. It would heal any future kids that you had from that generation, from that DNA. What I found very interesting is the story doesn't always match what it has turned into. For instance, suicide. One of my clients, we couldn't get past in soul therapy this feeling of like the loss of all of her maternal line to suicide. And we can like, where did that come from? So we're like, let's do a generational healing. It came from an Irish descent from the potato famine, coming to New York City after being on a beautiful farm and in nature, coming to the tenements of New York in the dirt and the filth in the small apartment and feeling suffocated and trapped from having the beautiful land and the free, fresh air. The trapped feeling changed in the generation moving forward into, I got to get out of here, and killing themselves. So it's a very interesting thing because the original ancestor did not kill themselves.
Yes.
So it doesn't always equal.
Yes, but it is the energy behind that, right? That
Exactly.
and that is a really tricky thing to understand, especially in ancestral healing. And this is also something that comes up in galactic astrology, because of course we do not have only ancestors here on Earth. We have ancestors in many, many places
Right.
where our souls moved, and we carry this trauma as well in ourselves. And I find it so interesting because if I can let people know about your starseed origin, which is
Please share away. I don't have any secrets from anybody in this world.
Nihal in a beautiful star in the constellation of Lepus, or the rabbit. And those star seeds are so empathetic and telepathic. And as you were talking about this ancestor from Ireland, because Nihal star seeds have such a deep connection to earth, to animal, to nature spirits. So this automatically opened up this whole Irish energy. And maybe, I don't know if you have Irish roots.
I do have
You do.
border.
But the Nihil starseeds are also interdimensional travelers. So you are so equipped to do this work because you can go, to the past and to the future without any problem. Um, And you can work in these interdimensional realms.
Mm.
And I find this so interesting because you have Nihal on smack on your midheaven. So you're, you are destined to do this work and, represent and embody the Nihal energy here on Earth for all of us. So that's really
That's
beautiful.
beautiful.
So,
Very humbling.
well, it is. It is every time because we are so connected to a greater picture that we cannot even, grasp. You
Yeah.
have experienced that in a galactic astrology session. It is mind expanding, and I experienced it myself. That's why I followed this path. But the ancestral healing is a topic that is very dear to my heart. So let's talk a bit about this more. So how did you can you do this? Can you implement this technique to heal your own ancestral line as well? So let's say you come up with, I don't know, with a belief system, with a sentence that is coming up, repeating itself, or a pattern that shows up. So what do you do?
Um, I might go and find one of my colleagues who does generational healing and have them do it. It's very challenging to do yourself. I'm because it's an energetic healing of the trauma, and it's usually from the heart. And what's interesting about the ancestral healing that I do, it's not just the DNA healing that others are doing. There's a lot of people say I'm doing DNA healing. It's different. This is actually healing trauma fragments from ancestors, and the earth has been holding all of these trauma fragments. So basically, like I'm sure you've heard of soul retrieval. It's basically, it feels like that to me. It's the only
Mm.
way I can describe it to other people. The earth has been holding all these fragments and she doesn't want to hold them anymore. And so by each person saying, okay, I'd like to heal my family line, you can do many of them. There's so much in your own family lines that have a little trauma here on them. That particular piece of trauma gets healed. And then that goes back to the oversoul and it's now more complete. And the earth isn't holding that energy anymore. And so she feels better and lighter. So it's very it does need somebody kind of be the facilitator of clearing the energy. But in terms of clearing your own, you are able to heal anything you want. You can put your hands on yourself. You can move forward past these stories yourself. It might not heal the ancestral's original trauma, but it can clear it from your own body. You can do anything you want through energy work. Um, I just think this is a specific thing for healing other beings' trauma in the family line.
Yes.
And it's kind of like a past life regression to me. Like when I do past life regressions, people will say, "Oh, I did one on my own," or "I did a group one." They work, but they don't work the same way as if you're working with one-on-one person actually helping you do the forgiveness on your lives and or if people did stuff to you or even this life. Being in that kind of having someone facilitate the healing it's a little bit more impactful and quicker. And it works better. I don't know why. I wish we could all heal ourselves all the time, but I think that sometimes it helps to have a facilitator to do
Yes, I believe so too, because we never heal alone, right? We always
that.
heal in context, either with someone else and or in a group setting. That is, we know how
Yep,
powerful that can be. But well, when I do a session, I heal myself. I heal the client and
yep,
heal myself at the same time. So it's a win-win situation, really.
totally. Well, because the energy's moving through you, so it's healing you. Like I
Yeah.
can do, 3 past life regressions at 6 hours in a day, and I'm not tired because I'm not using my energy. It's coming through me. It's not Carolyn doing it. So I think the key is when you're doing the healing, being the healer, as long as you're using universal energy that's coming through you and not your own, is really important.
Yeah, and I think that is also in your chart.
Is it really? Where?
It's on your ascendant because the ascendant represents the moment of your birth and all the energy you came in with. And you have two conjunctions with your ascendant, which I have to say are not easy at all. You have Pluto and Uranus on your ascendant. And the two most disruptive planets meet at meet at your um, beingness, at the core of your being. But it is also, and they represent the unpredictability and the transformative power of Uranus. And that meets the enormous powers of Pluto for resilience and regeneration. So you are very much are connected from the first breath you took to the planet Uranus that strives for spiritual creativity, for independence, but also for unforeseen changes. And you have had a lot in your lives. And Pluto, on the other hand, focuses more on your willpowers, as well as your profound transformations. You know, it is concerned with power and powerlessness. And we talked about this, how we have to overcome the victimhood and become the creators or the co-creators with our lives. And it is also, Pluto is also uncompromising renewal. And you show us that so beautifully through all the disruptiveness and transformation in your life. And for me, you more than anybody else represent the archetypical energy of the mythical phoenix, really. If
Hmm,
Phoenix
that's
himself
interesting.
is the one who rises from the ashes, renewed and reborn, and embodies the Plutonian principle, then Uranus stands for the fire, the spontaneous
Oh,
combustion
yeah, yeah.
in which the phoenix dies and transforms himself. And I think that's what you do in your work. You constantly help your clients uh, to think about what they're going through, to get them out of their stuck state with this Uranian energy. And then you transform their lives with the Plutonian energy you hold. It is inevitable that you do this work.
It's miraculous sometimes. I've seen people within like a month of working with me move a state, or like that they've lived in forever in their whole life and like buy a new house in a different state, or realize that they were living small and then they went to go get gigantic jobs to influence the world, the important things in DC and like federal government, like just like big things, like big moves, leaving dysfunctional, toxic relationships, toxic jobs, creating a new life completely. Or they'll stop working with me when it gets to the point where they won't do the one thing that they have to do. And it's just that's where the choice comes in. And that's okay. Like that, they got what they needed, and maybe it affects them. It will change them on, make them feel better for whatever, and then they go on. It's not 100% guaranteed. It's also on the person of how much they're willing to be bold and courageous,
Yes.
and just being raw and truthful with themselves on the stories they tell themselves.
Yeah, it is about honesty, really, and being honest with oneself, and also overcome this narcissistic self that we also all have. I think it's not only the victim that we embody, but we embody the narcissist as well. And overcoming that is really those two paradigms. Overcoming those two paradigms are already a huge part of the healing.
The other part is we also come in with the saboteur and the child and the prostitute. And the saboteur is like your shadow and like what you're sabotaging because of your shadow, and really not being afraid of your shadow because your shadow was created in a way to protect you. But now it can be disserving, but you have to make friends with it because otherwise it will always just sabotage you. And so it's really understanding your dark side, which isn't dark, it's just not enough light put on it so that you can manage yourself better. It's really as simple as that. But people are afraid of it and they get would rather drink or take drugs or do anything or ignore it or get triggered, whatever, to not deal with it. And I think that's a huge thing. The other thing is the prostitutes, how we deal with money. What would you do for money? What would you not do for money? How does money influence your decisions in your life? And the child's my favorite because if you did have a traumatic childhood, you can t or something did happen to you when you were young, you can ignore your child. And that just pops out in terrible ways later in life. And because she wants or he wants attention and love. And so that how do you deal with that? So those four archetypes I work with very closely with all my clients too with soul therapy. Because by learning about them, since we all have to deal with those four,
Yes, they show up
really
in
helps.
time. Mm. Yeah, it's like the archetypical energies of the planets, right? They all
Yeah.
represent parts of the archetypes you just mentioned. There's always a light side and a dark side. There's always the child that needs attention and that needs to be integrated. And of course, we have to deal with the energy of giving and receiving.
Mhm.
And then the victimhood, yes, of course, we can succumb to the energies in our lives, or we
Yep.
can use it as a means to transform and to heal.
We're so simple and so complicated. There's so many layers to us in this human experience, but also it comes down to love and how much joy. And what I bring to my clients is the promise that even when it's a bad day, you're still happy. Like you can be in a bad mood, you can be in a grief state, but you still are running happy. Where a lot of people who come to me when they first meet, they've lost their joy and they're not running happy anymore. And
Mm.
it's just finding that joy again, because that's what we're here for. I mean, Creator wants us to have joy and love and happiness and overcome the obstacles that we put in our way and challenges and things that are not pleasant that have happened to us and overcoming them. I like people I loved, it didn't work out. I thought I was getting married, I didn't get married. I had many jobs I lost for a 6-year period. I think the longest I could keep a job was 2 years, and I'm one of the best ad sales reps at the time. And I'm like, this is crazy. But then when I look back, every one of those jobs led me to more and more away from the office to a freer environment that allowed me to become a soul therapist, allowed me to have a business, and also have the money to support me. While it looks like sometimes that you're getting slammed, spirit is actually have your best interest at heart to get you to where you need to be. That's where the resilience, the picking yourself up by your your big girl panties and like moving forward. It's like that's how I have lived my life. Like no matter who died, no matter what, is they wouldn't want me to stop or I need to live life or God gave me this life. I need to do it. Otherwise, I'm gonna go on the other side and be like, damn, I didn't do what I was supposed to do, or damn, I didn't enjoy my life, or whatever, because it's a gift. And the other thing that keeps me going is I don't want someone else doing my job because they're not going to do it like me.
I love that. Yes, that's all Uranian energy, right? This creative intelligence and this independence and also the spiritual freedom that Uranus represents and the constant change. And when you said you lost your job over a period of 6 years, I would be really interested to see the transits on your Uranus at that
I
time.
thought it was awful. It was awful.
Oh, I believe so. But you have the resilience with Uranus on your ascendant to go through these disruptive times. And you can help others do that, right?
Well, that's kind of the thing that if anyone works with me, there's nothing really they can say that I haven't experienced. And it might not be exactly the same way, like maybe a husband or something, but pretty much everything is. I have something that I can understand where they're coming from. I have
Mm.
a full life that I bring to the table of these challenges to say, yeah, I understand. And did you think about getting out this way? Or have you thought about this? Or, or there's just their empathy is there to understand what they're going through. And I
Yes,
think that's unique. I don't think that many people have had as many challenges in one lifetime.
and it's also the Nihal energy that you brought, here on Earth to support not only Earth, because it is a nature-loving energy here, but also to support people around you. So let me ask you, so what do you offer at the moment to your clients and to the audience, of course?
That's thank well, I have a new podcast. It's new. It's the Unstuck podcast. It's wisdom for your spiritual growth with me, Carolyn Goldfarb. I only have once, I've just started it, and so I'm sure I'll get better at doing them as I go. But I'm very excited about sharing different thoughts and wisdoms of like how I did overcome different challenges or how people can, and bringing different people on too that have overcome challenges. And I'm really excited about it. And I'm also created a new workshop. It's called The Goddess and the Warrior, Creating Your Bold and Courageous Life. It's free. It's going to be November 21st. I think it's a Thursday night at 5 p.m. Pacific time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time. And it will be an hour and a half of really breaking down like how to balance your divine masculine and feminine, and how, managing those two energies and really honoring those, no matter if you're a man or woman, but the divine part, not, our actual sex, and how allowing yourself to be bold and courageous and vulnerable, um, allows you to really go inside and then make hard choices and overcome these stuck patterns. And it's basically a beginning introduction of really becoming courageous in your life and overcoming these obstacles. And what is divine feminine and what is divine masculine, and kind of digging in on that too. Um, and then I work one-on-one with people. I have a free consultation for 30 minutes that you can sign up for soul therapy. You can sign up for consultations for 15 minutes on past life regression or generational healing. Past life regression is 2 hours, and I do them in person in Carlsbad, California, or virtually. And my soul therapy is all through Zoom, is all virtual. So I can be anywhere, and you can be anywhere in the world. And the generational healing too is in person or virtual. And that is a 75-minute session to heal your ancestral line.
Wow, that is
And all of
beautiful.
them make free you from these patterns. And the best part is it's instant. So past like whatever that is healed is healed. You don't have to like ponder it, rethink about it, analyze it. It's like gone. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, it's quantum, right? It
Yeah,
is.
it's quantum. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I
Well,
remember the old days in the 80s where I just like go to sleep and it would take like a month to heal something.
yeah, that is not the time any longer,
No,
right?
no,
We
no.
are past that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a
Thank God.
painful
It's much
process.
better now.
Yeah, and the Andromedans applaud you really with this healing of the masculine and feminine energies for sure. Um,
I forgot to mention that the podcast is on Apple right now. And my website is carolyngoldfarb.com,
I will
and all the information is on there.
I will put it all below the video, of course, so people can find you. And I think they should really sign up for these free sessions that you offer and experience your Uranian and Plutonian energy
And
in
one
much
of
more.
the things that I think my clients love is everything is with humor.
Oh,
If
yes.
you don't have a sense of humor, you don't want to work with me, because that's how I work. You can't
Oh,
take life too seriously. You just can't.
I give
I'm not the
testament
right
to that.
person for you if you can't laugh at yourself.
I never had sessions where I laughed so much as I did with you, Carolyn.
Thank you. I love laughing.
Yes, it is healing. Thank you, Carolyn. It
Thank
was
you.
a pleasure talking to you. Well, I knew it would be.
Well, I'm
So
so grateful to you and your work. You've changed me so much, and you've opened my eyes to a whole new way of looking at the world and the universe and my place in it. And I'm just honored to have connected with you and to be here today. I really am so grateful.
thank you. And as I said, we are always healing each other, right?
Yes, with love.
Yes. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Carolyn. And goodbye, everyone. We leave you with a laugh now and
Exactly.
have a beautiful and joyous day.